What's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están, boys? Here, welcome back to another match reaction here on the channel. And today we got a game of Barcelona versus Villarreal, a 2-1 victory for Los Blaugranas, which is a positive result, of course. But yeah, I think that we shouldn't get our mind taken away from the obvious, and the obvious is that Barcelona still needs a lot of work to reach the level that we all anticipate from our beloved team. So I want to start off right away with the individual performances, because there were a lot of them that are positive, that are very, very good to start building upon them. And the very first of those, I want to go with Antoine Griezmann. Antoine Griezmann was a player which was worrying me a little bit, because the only time we saw him shine in an attacking sense, I know that he has a lot of qualities when it comes to the defensive approach to his game. He does tracking back like I have seen no other strikers do before, and that's really impressive. But at the end of the day, you also want Antoine Griezmann to perform assists, to score goals. That was a part that was lacking as soon as he signed for Barcelona. He only had that game against Real Betis, but apart from that, really nothing from the Frenchman. But in this game, well, for that very first goal, that header was superb. I think that the quality and the technique that you needed to have in that head of yours, Antoine, to score it from such a tight angle is just incredible. I bow to you. I was like 100% this is going outside of the goal, but to get it there, to get past Sergio Asenjo, very good. But then apart from it, I think that I was worried a little bit that the match of Griezmann, Suarez and Messi was going to be a little bit iffy. It wasn't going to be as smooth as we all hoped, because Antoine Griezmann had a very similar problem, or would have a very similar problem like Coutinho previously did at Barcelona. And that was that one of the roles in the front line were already occupied by another player. I better explain myself to say that Coutinho is a player that really likes to have the ball and create the chances for the other attackers. In this sense, Lionel Messi already does this. In the case of Antoine Griezmann, he's a player who likes to play from the center and drift left, right, or even deeper to try and find spaces for other players as well. And that is something that Luis Suarez also do, a lot of work without the ball. So I was a little bit worried that that role was already taken. But in a positive sense, it's completely different, and thank God, because Lionel Messi, when he comes and drifting through the right into the middle, then Antoine Griezmann has a lot of room to take that place in the center, and we end up playing kind of like this 4-1-2-1-2, where we had Messi being like the number 10 El Enganche, and then Antoine Griezmann and Suarez being our two main forwards. And that was very, very good, because Griezmann then got to be a much bigger part of the play, and of course being still sticked a little bit to the left, he still managed very good. I think that Valverde has to think about playing Griezmann through the center, because drastically those last 15 minutes that he had when Suarez was substituted off, Griezmann looked his best. So yes, I think that Valverde still needs to try and fit him in, but the problem is not as big as I anticipated. And well, now his partner, on a more negative sense, I'm gonna go with Luis Suarez being just critically endangered. His performances are becoming just so worrying, honestly, because he is so flat in his game. He doesn't run, and all the work that he does off the ball is not good enough, because he doesn't seem to have the stamina to even make those runs to battle the defenders, and his passes just look so sloppy and clumsy before Luis Suarez got past them, because he always had that rage, aggression with him. But he just looks like, you know, your typical angry man on like a bar that says like, oh, I'm gonna knock you out, but you know that he's not gonna knock you out, because he's just so sloppy. He's gonna like fall and get tired like when he throws one punch. So that's exactly the Luis Suarez I'm seeing right now. I see Luis Suarez that has all that energy in him to perform good, but there's something holding him back, and I don't know exactly what it is. I already made a video discussing this and saying that we should bench him and use him as a impact substitute, and I still think that's the best fix. To quickly get through all of these players, because we are running out of time, I believe 5 minutes just talking about players is insane. But in the midfield, I'm gonna keep it short as well. Arthur, I think, was incredible. He just seems to add good things to his game every single time. Sergio Roberto did more good things than bad things. He did a decent game, and the same goes to Sergio Busquets. I do think that Sergio Busquets is looking a little bit lost right now, because most of his job just seems to be off the ball, because a lot of the work is being handed to the few other players like Arthur and Frankie de Jong when he come in. So Busquets is just like, well, what do I do now? So I think it's going to be a little bit interesting to see how we can get him to perform to his best, or how can we get more out of Arthur and de Jong while still being able to include Sergio Busquets in a lot of the play. I just once again think that he was lost. And now a player that I simply cannot miss out, and that is Junior Firpo. You know the scrutiny, the criticism that I gave Junior Firpo in that game against Granada, but in this one I think that he was good enough to pick himself back up from the ground, honestly, and show that he has character. I think that Junior Firpo will prove himself to be a very good left back for Barcelona in the future, and we saw that he has those glimpses. He had way more confidence when going attack in this game. Going attack when he had the opportunity to cross into the middle, he just had such determination in his eyes that was an honest relief, because we have now a player that won't cave himself after every mistake like a Coutinho or Andre Gomez. We have a player that has the character to fight against adversity, and that is something which I praise. And to finalize the individual performances, I want to talk about Lionel Messi, because it was such a good breath of fresh air, because he just gave our attack another gear, you understand what I mean, like in a car, it was like there's something extra to it. Before it was just so slow and clumsy, and we didn't seem to find exactly how we wanted to create our game. But with Messi, it's just so much easier. And people are gonna say Barcelona are dependent on Messi, and yes, we're dependent on Messi, but as long as we have him, I don't really care that much. So yeah. And well, now getting into the more collective side of things, I gotta say that I'm very, very happy that Barcelona were sharp from the get-go. And actually not having as much of the ball, although we still won in possession with 57%, it helped us to be much more concentrated, because we know that a lot of the chances were going to be created. It's good to acknowledge that Barcelona may not have the best transition, because it means that we are prepared for it. And just to help you when you analyze this game, people are gonna tell you, you're gonna read it somewhere on Twitter, on some newspaper, that oh my god, Villarreal had 11 shots against Barcelona. And yes, we are conceding a lot of shots, and that's in a way bad, but it can also be good. You have to read into it. Barcelona still had 4 shots of their 8 shots on target against Villarreal, which only had 3. And a lot of the shots, 5 of them in fact, were blocked. So it means that Barcelona are managing to put, bodies in front of it, but a lot of them came also from a corner, for instance, or it came from a set piece. It came where chances that Barcelona are forcing Villarreal to shoot from outside the box. And I prefer Barcelona acknowledging their mistake, to try and improve on it. They know that that in transition they're not good enough. So if they manage to cut, the attack of Villarreal short, I'm happy for it. I think it's an improvement, and certainly Ernesto Valverde has made something to it. So let's see how it's going to progress that side of our game later on, because we're going to need it, especially when it comes against harder opposition like the Champions League. I'm still expecting a lot of Barcelona when it comes to keeping the momentum for a full 90 minutes. It's hard, but we've seen it before. Done it before, so I'm going to demand it. I think that Barcelona still needs more work. It needs more work, especially away from home, and that is where I want to see Ernesto Valverde react, because one of the main talking points is going to be, why is Luis Suarez still starting? I already had my time criticizing him, but now I want to introduce the obvious, which is Ansu Fati and Ousmane Dembele, 2 players which are demanding of a video on its own, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a comparison between them, but they did a lot more than Suarez did. And especially when Fati came in for Luis Suarez, we saw a much complete Barcelona attack that had so much dynamism and very good understanding. It seems that Antoine Griezmann plays better with those sort of wingers than a static, or I say static, but he does move a lot in Luis Suarez, but static I mean just slow. So yes, we have to start looking into it, because Luis Suarez is becoming not an issue, not a problem, but rather a barrier for improvement. So guys, in anticipation for that upcoming video, I want you guys to leave me your thoughts about exactly this situation. Would you bench Suarez? I know a lot will say yes, but for who? For Ansu Fati or Ousmane Dembele? In the meantime, I'm happy. But I also know that this is a home victory, and Barcelona realistically have to start improving their away performances. Don't get carried away. If there's one thing you take away from this video, is exactly that. Don't get carried away, because Barcelona seem good, but realistically, they could be much better. Like I said about Roberto and Sergio Busquets, Barcelona did a lot of good things, better than bad, but still there's a lot of bad that we need to solve. That's gonna be it for me today, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. And Santi Cazorla, oh, he's still so good. He's my man of the match. Arthur was good, but Santi Cazorla, incredible. Ciao.